Tēnā koutou, nau mai, haere mai. Hello everyone, welcome to the Walking the Shadowlands podcast. Let me be your guide as we take a walk into the realms of the unexplained, of the paranormal, of things that go bump in the night and haunt your dreams. I'm Marianne. Thanks so much for joining me today, tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you're living in this beautiful world of ours. How can I tell if a loved one is around me? This is probably the one question that I get asked the most. Most of us have at least one person we know, a loved family member or a friend who has passed on from this stage of life. It's not at all uncommon for us to wonder, are they okay? Are they able to do what perhaps they couldn't do here in this life due to whatever reason? Do they still love me? Are they thinking of me from time to time? Can they hear me? If I talk to them, will they let me know if they're around? How can I tell if they're around me? So many questions most of us have around people we've loved who are no longer present with us. One of the biggest and saddest is, do they know how much I loved them? There's a saying that I really love, grief is just love without a home. I don't know who said it, so I can't credit them, but it rings very true for me. We all need to know that our loved ones, be they family or friends or pets, are still living, even if not here physically with us, that they can still feel the love we have for them, hear us talking to them or about them, that they know how much pain we feel at their passing and the void they left in our lives. Your loved ones can come back and visit you for many reasons, not the least of which is to reassure you they still exist and still feel your love. It's actually very, very common for people to experience loved ones letting them know they are still around. Here are some of the more common ways that people can know their deceased loved ones are around. Dreams. As we sleep, our energetic vibrations rise to a higher level than when we are awake, closer to the vibrational plane that spirit exists on. Also, while we're sleeping, our conscious mind does not interfere with spirit communication as it can when we're awake. So many people get visits from loved ones in dreams. Often they are given messages that reassure them or information that they may need to know, like where that will or important paper is kept. Sometimes they don't talk, but their mere presence is reassuring enough for the dreamer. Also, often in the dream, the deceased loved one is surrounded by some sort of light. For a lot of people, this type of dream is very different to regular dreams, more vivid, more realistic. You often hear it was just like they were standing there, as indeed they were. Smells. Oftentimes, loved ones will let you know they're around through your sense of smell. Generally, you'll smell a scent that you associate with them, like cigarette smoke or perfume, or even the smell of a roast cooking. So, if you smell a familiar fragrance like that you would generally associate with that person, then the likelihood is it is them visiting you and letting you know they're there, sensing their presence. This is probably one of the most common ways loved ones let you know they're around you. Many people report this. You might perhaps notice a difference in the atmosphere when they're around. For example, the atmosphere in the room could become very still where before it was not. You might notice movement in the air, particularly out the corners of your eyes. You might feel a pressure on the couch beside you where you're sitting or in your bed at night. This is very, very common. Being touched. You might feel someone playing with your hair like they used to when they were alive. A hug, someone holding your hand, a gentle hand on your shoulder. Feeling your loved one's touch is probably one of the most common experiences people may have. This particularly happens in the early days following the person's passing. People have even felt their spouse in bed beside them, hugging them to sleep. Hearing their voice. Some people will hear the voice of their loved one, as though they were there in the room with them. Still others will hear the voice in their mind, but it is in the person's voice they will hear. This is more common than audible hearing, as the spirit no longer has a physical voice box, and it takes far more energy for them to audibly create a sound than through thought. If you hear them talking to you, answer them in your mind, then stop and listen for a response. Sometimes you'll hear one, sometimes you won't. Unexplained electrical activity. We're all energetic beings and are composed of energy. People who've passed over can very quickly learn how to manipulate electrical devices. So this is quite often why loved ones will use electrical devices to get your attention. TV and lights turning on and off, or dimming, brightening, changing TV channels, sometimes even making electrical or battery-operated toys move. Phone calls, text messages, Facebook messages. Because most phones these days are electrical ones, it's not difficult for Spirit to be able to manipulate phones or even send messages or post Facebook messages. Oftentimes, if you answer the call, the voice can sound like it's very distant or have quite a bit of static, or can sound very mechanical and electronic. Song timing. A sign that's not uncommon, particularly with spouses or lovers, is hearing a song that's significant to you both, or was significant to the person who passed over. On the radio, in the mall, driving a car, as background music at a takeaway place, you might hear the song over and over, repeatedly over a number of days or weeks, not just once as a random occurrence, but repeatedly. Signs, symbols, synchronicity. Sometimes our loved ones are so eager to let us know that they're around us that they'll try and let you know in as many ways as possible. They like to place things in our past that were significant to them or are significant to us. I remember reading the story of a woman whose father worked for a hot dog making company in the States. She was a teacher. When her father died, she saw the logo for the then business company everywhere in the weeks following his death. One of her students at school drew her a picture of that company's hot dog icon, and someone else found a little plastic hot dog ornament and gave it to her. All these were signs that her dad was still living and letting her know he was around. This sign could be as simple as a bird's feather floating down in front of your eyes, or on your doorstep in the morning, or your mum's favourite rose blooming out of season. Yes, I've heard of that happening before. Animals. Sometimes Spirit will use animals to let you know they're around, especially if that animal or insect does something unusual, like it lands in front of you, on you, or stares at you through a window, or sits looking at you in your path. Generally, these animals stand out in some way from normal, could be more colourful than most animals, or a wild, normally timid animal will approach you. Objects moving. Another thing loved ones will sometimes do is that they will move objects to get your attention. Does that ornament keep shifting position? Does that picture keep tilting to one side? Does the picture of your deceased relative or friend keep falling over or off the wall? Are you always misplacing a particular object, like your car keys, even though you know you left them in a specific spot? Sometimes they will combine moving things with noise to make sure they get your attention. Seeing their ghost either fully or partially. Actually, this is not as common as one might think. Despite what all the movies and TV shows might have you believe, it's quite rare actually, which is why I made it last on my list. Don't think that if you haven't seen your loved one appear to you that they've not tried to contact you or let you know they're around. Sometimes when they do appear, it's not always full body. It might just be their head or hands. They might appear flat like a black and white photo and not necessarily in living colour, so to speak. Usually in the first days, weeks or months following the death of a loved one, many people will find that they have visits or signs from them to let the people left behind here know that they're still living and aware of them. And generally these taper off after a while once Spirit realises that you're okay and you have mostly finished your heaviest grieving process, although sometimes these visits and reminders can last for years, or in the case of partners, until the remaining partner also passes over. I feel that this is such an awesome display of love from those in spirit, and love is something that transcends all of time. Thanks for listening to this episode. Ka kite.